Where did this whole crazy journey start?
My dad wanted me to actually skip my school graduation because there was 2 competitions that I had a chance to ride to qualify into Crankworx that year. You need to give yourself 2 chances. He's like, who cares about the school graduation? I was like, dude, like I love that, but school graduation happens like once in a lifetime.
Nicholai Rogatkin is a slopestyle legend and one of the most energetic personalities in mountain biking. He started in BMX before switching to MTB in 2013.
He exploded onto the scene, landing multiple world's firsts, competing at Rampage, and winning the infamous Triple Crown of Crankworx in 2018. Recently, Nicholai has dabbled in commentary, but he is still going full send and always a threat for the win.
It's more one-sided, like you're saying. I think it's a more BMX hate towards mountain biking than the other way around. Talk to me about this contract, or talk to me about this prize money from this or that, or like how we feel the next day when we see Emil taking off to not tail whip, opposite tail whip this drop that we just said no amount of money would ever convince us to do it. Those are really the moments that I live for in slopestyle. That's like stepped aside more than Brett had like a really gnarly era where he was really hard to beat.
Yeah, what's your feeling on that and like how things have been going in terms of like, you know, being rewarded money-wise for events, whether it's slopestyle, Rampage, whatever?
The risk versus reward topic is one that is tough because like with this sport especially, the risk versus reward is absolutely does not line up.
First, guys, I need to ask you a big favor to please like and subscribe. You have no idea how much of an impact this has on the YouTube algorithm. And right now, I need all the help I can get. I've had some amazing guests on and would love to keep the ball rolling, and I can't do this alone. Thanks, guys. Back to this episode.
Nicholai Rogatkin, dude, thanks so much for coming on, man. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, of course, man. Sorry, it's hard to track me down. Busy, but stoked we're finally out here and doing this.
Yeah, man. It's you've got an insane schedule. When I see like you literally all over the place, like Europe, the US, Canada, it's like from event to event. Like maybe you can take us back. Like where did this whole crazy journey start? Like because I believe you started in BMX, right?
Man, yeah, this journey that I've been on and blessed to be on for so incredibly long started when I was a kid, almost started before I can remember, you know. I got on a bike before age 5, I feel like, but then I really started riding at age 5, you know, and I'm 29 now, turning 30 at the end of this year. So that's like almost before my memory, you know. So like riding stuff is kind of like almost like ingrained in me because I've just been doing it since I was such a young kid, you know. And like you said, I started on BMX. I was a tiny little kid. My dad and I got bikes. I was on a little 16. Only took a couple years before my dad was like, yo, I cannot keep up with you. I cannot be hitting the same stuff. More like I'm tapping out. But he was like the most insane supporter and coach always. So yeah, he started instantly putting me into competitions at like age 7, I think already I was competing.
In freestyle or in racing or something like that?
No racing at all for me.
Okay.
Which is kind of unique in a way, I guess, because racing was always super big in BMX, and we were going to work camp, and I feel like there was more attention moving towards like X Games, do tour type of stuff, but they still had a massive racetrack, and like BMX racing was just so competitive and everything. But for some reason, even though my dad is super competitive and he comes from biathlon and very competitive racing sports from back in Russia, he never tried to push the racing, and him and I were always more pumped on the flying and the style aspect of everything. So besides like getting on the racetrack there at Woodward Camp a couple times to mess around, I never raced at all competing wise. So it's always straight into skate park competitions, all skate park competitions at first. And then as I got a little bigger with a little more power, then he started going into like dirt competitions because dirt jumps are kind of gnarlier, more consequential. Skate park, you can kind of ride it how you want, you know?
Yeah. Crazy. Okay. So that's interesting. With 7, I didn't even know that you could compete in like a freestyle comp or a skate park comp at 7 years old.
I mean, I was definitely a unique specimen back then because I was so young, and also it was an interesting tactic by my father. Maybe it was a way to humble me, but I was so young, like starting from age 7, but like all the way till So I basically went into professional contests. He never wanted to put me in the young kids category because I don't know, maybe he didn't want to see me win too easily and he wanted to see me push my level. So whatever contest we would go to, he would just throw me in the highest level. And there was like not deep, but like against the best riders there. And that's different because I feel like parents are like, you know, you want to see the kid win. You want to see the kid be motivated to like keep winning. But my dad's like, no, if you get last, you get last. But like, you got to know what it's like to be in the competition with the best riders there on that day. So I feel like it instilled this kind of humbleness in me. Like I was the best 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old in the park, but that doesn't matter when you're trying to compete in those bigger classes. So yeah, thinking back on that, it's definitely unique that my dad was throwing me in there like that, but definitely built like this competitive character within me. And it's hard for me to even remember those first competitions. Like I watch back and I see videos and I mean, same little guy shredding around. But yeah, those are like almost past my memory because I was such a kid, you know.
It's crazy. Yeah, I guess it's like that with a lot of sports, whether, you know, you see like Tiger Woods started playing golf when he was like 3 or 4 years old or whatever it was, you know. So I think it does make a difference when you start that young. And when did you make the switch to mountain biking? How old were you and why actually did you make the switch?
So I kind of did both BMX and mountain bike for a few years there because I was doing a lot of skatepark competitions as I was growing up, like I was saying. But then as I started getting older and moving into like dirt competitions and riding shows of masses of dirt, there was kind of like less opportunities in BMX because it seemed like the sport was focused on things like street and there was a couple massive competitions per year, X Games, Dew Tours, things like that. But in terms of like overall opportunity, especially with dirt competitions, there weren't so many. And like I said, I was riding masses of dirt, and there was legends riding masses of dirt. Very Lecondagui, Yannick Ranieri, Martin Söderström, Sam Reynolds, guys that like I could look at while riding the show with them and be like, yo, these guys are unreal. And then I would go home and I would watch like the old Crankworx and stuff and be like, these guys are shredding. But I was still a bit young. And one year I kind of just started talking to Martin Söderström about it. And Martin fully helped me. He took it to Specialized. The Specialized guy at the time was Jeff Rogers. And they set me up with a bike and just put me on my path. And I started just trying to learn all of those BMX tricks on mountain bike. I'm blessed to have Highland Mountain near me. Highland Mountain is about an hour and a half away from home. And I was just spending so much time there in the indoor, in the slopestyle course, and the dirt jumps. I was just like learning how to transfer all these BMX skill to the mountain bike. But then in these months, I was still doing some BMX competitions. And like, for me, it was hard to like not ride BMX anymore because it's like where I came from. It's like my whole childhood. Like I'm telling you, before I can even remember I was on a BMX bike. So I was like, what do you mean? Like all mountain bike now? Like we're not going to ride BMX anymore? Like what the fuck? Like this doesn't seem right. But it was like such a similar vibe where I was still on 2 wheels. I was still doing a lot of the same tricks. I was still progressing in the same fashion. I was loving things for the same reasons, whether it was flipping or flying or hanging with the boys. Like I was all like the same love and passion that I had. So that made it kind of easier for me to be like, you know what? A lot of opportunities here in mountain bike, a lot of competitions for me to go out there and try to prove what I can do. And my last competitions in BMX were actually awesome. I won the BMX Worlds in Cologne. I was 17. I won ASA Triples in Miami against some big name riders. So it wasn't so bad, but there was just so many more competitions in mountain bike. And like I was saying, I was blessed to have Martin Söderström behind me, telling Specialized, this guy is next up, this guy is next up, support him, and having that support to just take a shot at the career, really. So around like those years where I was graduating high school, so I guess 16, 17, 18 in that range is where all of these changes were going on.
And was there kind of a point where you kind of had a realization where you were like, okay, like I can do this, or I can actually make a living at this? Or did it kind of just like slowly progress?
Well, it was always the dream since I was young, because I was fortunate to have those inspirational characters. Like I was saying at Woodwork, I was seeing the best guys in the world, and like at Masters of Dirt, I was seeing the best guys in the world. So I was so young, and I just had all these amazing idols and all this inspiration. So deep down, I always had the dream of like riding full time, being like a pro rider, top level rider. I remember when I was super young, I wrote like a little goal that my goal was like to win X Games before graduating high school and stuff. And, like things kind of changed path, but like even writing something like that like shows me that I had this like further dream of fully being pro rider. But I think the realization didn't come until like things really happened, because my dad, he was a super good coach and everything, but he was also super strict on schooling.
Okay.
He would take me out of school, but like if I go out of school, like I have to do all the homework and all the stuff on the plane. I have to get back and do the tests, and I have to get good grades, or he's like on me. He's like, this career is not going to last forever. Like you have to educate your brain and how. So I was convinced that him specifically, because my mom is very supportive overall. She's less like strict. She's more supportive. Whereas my dad is like strict. He's like no excuses type of energy, I was just convinced that they would want me to go to a university, because pretty much 99% of the kids that I went to high school with go university. So that's what like seemed like it was all built for. So I was like, yeah, like I'm riding, doing these contests, I'm getting taken out of school, but like I think that I'm just gonna have to go to college. And basically when I graduated high school, my dad was like, yo, you have this year now to go compete and like see what you can do. No way, I can't believe I do this. And it's actually crazy because my dad wanted me to actually skip my school graduation, because there was 2 competitions that I had a chance to ride to qualify into Crankworx that year. You need to give yourself 2 chances. He's like, who cares about the school graduation? And I was like, dude, like I love that, but school graduation happens like once in a lifetime, and I somehow had those values to be like, you know what? No, I'm not skipping it. I go. So I went to the school graduation. I walked the stage with my friends. It was awesome. And then I gave myself 1 chance. It was 26 tricks in Leo Gang. I wish that still existed, because we had 26 tricks. And then the World Cup back-to-back that weekend was electric.
Yeah, it was sick.
So like, yeah, man, I miss it a lot. But I went over there and I basically had 1 chance. I had to ride amazing in that competition to qualify into Crankworx, And it was a lot of pressure, and there was a lot of big name riders there. And luckily I was able to win that event. And then that's when I kind of realized, like, I was, like I said, it's basically like I was already there, I had won that event, which means I was in for Crankworx. And then I was like, damn, like I really trusted in myself. I gave myself this 1 chance. I came out here, I did this, and now I'm in. And my pops was like, you did it, So it was just like, kind of like didn't think I was even going to have the opportunity. And then it happened, and I won, and things went from there. So yeah, crazy to think about.
So wild. What year was that exactly?
I think it's 2014.
Okay. Because I would have been there as well, because I was racing the World Cup, the downhill. So yeah, I live in Munich now, but I've been to Leo Gang so many times over the last years. So that's funny that we were there at the same time.
That's crazy.
But it's interesting that you made this switch, like from BMX to mountain bike, and like, because I feel like when I was younger, I also rode a bit of BMX. Not a bit of racing and stuff like that before I switched to mountain bike. But there's kind of a lot of, I get the feeling that the BMXers don't really like the mountain bikers. So I don't know why exactly. And yeah, especially with like dirt jumps and stuff like that, you rock up on a mountain bike, like sometimes you feel like you're going to get hit by a spade.
Yeah, there definitely is a bit of that dynamic. And I don't really know why it happens, because like I said, we have a lot of the same love and passion, like whether it's BMX rider or a mountain bike rider, we love riding on 2 wheels, being out with the homies. Like it's a lot of the same passions, but it does lead to a lot of clash. But I think it's more one-sided, like you're saying. I think it's a more BMX hate towards mountain biking than the other way around.
Yeah.
But like honestly, at the higher levels, like this year at Swatch Nines, we had some of like the legends of BMX come over. They were so humble. They were shredding. They were like asking us guys how to ride some of the slow features. Super stoked when they could do it on their brakeless BMX. We're like, you look crazy for sending on the brakeless BMX. On one of these bikes, come on. But like that dynamic was good, because it was like everyone was kind of appreciating each other's craft and skill set, and the fact that everybody's humbly in that same location. We even had some like world-class skateboarders there too, and everybody was just like just kind of, like I said, appreciating how like insane each other are. So that was really cool to see, rather than like, that animosity of like, oh, these guys think they're sick, oh, these guys think they're sick. That would be super whack, like it's way more fun to have that like teamwork dynamic vibe of like no egos in play and everybody just like impressed by each other, you know? So yeah, the hate's definitely there, but there's some good moments where it gets overshadowed and like that passion from everyone like overplays.
Yeah, it kind of baffles me sometimes. I'm like, I don't really get it because we're all kind of doing the same thing. I mean, okay, it's different bikes and slightly different, but I mean, it's relatively the same. We all love riding bikes at the end of the day, but just like politics in a lot of times, like, and you're just kind of wondering, like, what the hell, like, what difference does it make, you know? But yeah, I guess maybe it's changing a bit for the better. I think also in the beginning, maybe mountain biking was seen as like this kind of like ugly stepchild kind of thing because BMX was kind of core. Yeah. But I feel like mountain biking's come a long way over the last few years, thanks to guys like you and Emil and Brandon and everything. So I think that
I don't know if you've like seen any of this stuff online, but it seems like the BMXers sometimes, not every time, but they sometimes even have a little bit of animosity towards each other in the different disciplines that they do. The riders are like, these Olympic guys, and then the Olympic come on, like we're like trying to do some legendary shit here. It's like they don't appreciate each other's craft. And I feel like in mountain bike it doesn't exist. Like I feel like the World Cup riders are not like the free ride guys are bullshit, like, and then nothing. Us slope guys are not like, oh, the racers are so boring. Like, I feel like we're just like appreciating each other's different skill sets and like the fact that we're different people, but there's less like animosity there.
Yeah, for sure. And on the BMX MTB thing, like obviously you've done both. I would say, I don't know if you would have considered yourself a pro at BMX at that in terms of like earning a living, because I guess you were pretty young at that point. But like from what you can tell now, do you think it's easier to make it as a pro slopestyle rider or a pro BMX rider?
Well, slopestyle now is a difficult thing to make it into. I feel like when I was coming into slopestyle, when there was like those big competitions, even the biggest ones, the first couple riders are guys that like have just barely made it in there, you know, and like, kind of like really like feeling their way out and things like that. And now with this level of slopestyle is so heavy. Every rider can do a winning run if it's the right day and the right course. Every rider has a training compound back home that they've put money and time into, and riders ride together and everyone goes in their own unique skill set. Like some guys are insane with switch moves. Some riders, like I prefer to do more banger style moves. Some guys are like Max Fredriksson style tech wizards, triple combos on every jump. It's like so difficult to like find a skill set and run with it and then make it to the top level. But that's like just slopestyle, and that's how the sport has progressed. You're asking like slopestyle versus BMX. I think like if you go like mountain bike versus BMX, it's a similar debate because in BMX, like there's a few different avenues you can take. You can be more video part guy, you can be full contest guy, social media guy, and I feel like that goes for the mountain bike world too. And I'm saying guy, but the ladies are riding unbelievably too now, and in mountain bike and progressing and like really shifting up the market and like all things like that. So I just feel like maybe over the years in mountain bike, there's been like more opportunity. I don't know, maybe because there's more companies or more places to ride mountain bike. You think about all the big mountains all over Europe, like more people watching, maybe because like, I don't know, you can have a family that every single one rides mountain bike, like from the tiny little baby to the grandma and grandpa. Whereas BMX, I feel like definitely like more youth and more like those elite years where you're at your peak physical state, but like that's hard on the body. BMX is hard on the body. They send it, like you're saying, it's core. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a larger, massive opportunity, which then allows for more people to kind of pursue making it, you know? But everyone has their own path. I come from BMX to mountain bike. Some people are the other way around. Some people go moto. It's like everyone has their own story, and they can find their way and find a way to make a living. Then good on.
You think there's more money in the mountain biking than BMX
in terms of the industry?
In terms of what the top riders are going to get paid? You know, if you're winning X Games gold, for example, versus winning Crankworx, like in terms of like sponsorships, stuff like that.
I don't know those X Games numbers, but I don't think they're bad. I think it's very comparable for the top riders. Like if we're talking like an R Willie that goes X,
Yeah.
and he gets 3 gold medals in one weekend versus an Emil who wins every slope comp over the course of the year. Like those top dogs are definitely making a huge amount. I don't know like what it is head to head. Same with the podium guys. If you're on the podium all year, every contest in BMX versus if you're on the podium all year, every year in the mountain bike, I think those numbers are comparable, but I don't know, honestly. It's interesting in our industries. Like you have to be really close with the homie to talk about.
Yeah.
Go around and say, how much this company pay you? How much this company pay you? Like sometimes us boys have those private combos, like where you're really close to the rider of like, yo, talk to me about this deal, talk to me about this contract, or talk to me about this prize money from this or that, or like. But I feel like it's rare. Whereas in the other sports, like I follow American sports super heavily. As you can see, I'm double branded here.
Yeah.
Like that's like one of the main things they talk about. They give all the details of every contract. Like maybe not the endorsement ones, but at least the ones from the team. I just feel like that's so heavily in the public, so everyone can say baseball's this, hockey is this, football's this, soccer is this. Like all those numbers are so comparable. Whereas like you asked me, and I've been in both industries, and I like simply like cannot even compare the numbers.
Crazy, yeah.
We don't know. Like that stuff's not blasted out to the public. So
I think that's
interesting. Like, what do you think about that?
I think that's a huge, that's a huge issue. I mean, whether it's downhill racing or cross country, slope style, big mountain riding, whatever, like no one knows what everyone is earning unless you literally mates with the guy and chat to them. But like, I think it's so weird because everyone's kind of like hush hush and like, no, like, are they, maybe then you hear rumors, like maybe they're getting that but like as you said, like in other sports, big sports, mainstream sports like soccer, football, basketball, everyone knows exactly what everyone's earning. So it makes it super easy to go to a brand if you've got a deal and it's like, sweet, he's getting X, I'm doing as good or better, so I got to be getting X as well, I don't know why that is in mountain bike.
I literally think it's because it gives the companies and the industry more control over the market. Like you're saying, if they come out with these salaries, they come out with these contracts, then that's the market. And if you want a rider of that caliber that has these numbers or this follow or this whatever, then you have to pay them that money, or like, you know what I mean? Whereas when people don't know the market, the companies can come with, I don't know if they lie about it or if they're truthful about, we don't have this budget, we have this, we don't have that. It's like it gives the industry and the company so much power over the riders because of that lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if I don't think the companies in the industry are doing that on purpose to like give themselves power, but I think that the final product and the final result is them having a lot of power and the riders kind of being in a place of either demanding and standing their ground or kind of taking what they can get. And a lot of times, like it's tough because it's also not a sports team. Like every sports team needs a certain amount of players and like they need to fill the roster and they need to have skills. Like there's not really that standard in these companies. Like every company, like at least in Slopestyle, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit different for racing. Tell me after. But it's like not every company needs to have a certain number of riders, or they don't need, there's no need. If they want to, if that fits with their marketing strategy, then great. But it's like less requirements. So you can't like be like, oh, you guys need me. Kind of like they have the power to be like, you know what? No. Like, how is it with racing, like with the teams and everything?
So I think it's different from team to team and whether you're a privateer or you're on a big team or not. But I think in general, the money is not great. Like I think no one gets into mountain biking going like, oh, okay, I want to be a millionaire. but I think we all do it for the passion. But I think it's I don't know. I think the big question is sometimes whether it's worth the risk for what some guys are doing. I feel like there should be more money for the top guys, like, because I'm just like, it's insane actually, like the risks that people are taking, whether it's in slopestyle racing or whatever. Or Rampage, we just had Rampage a couple of months ago. It's just like it's just like I'm a mountain biker, you're a mountain biker, you've been there, you've done it, like, but I think from a person that's outside of the sport that doesn't mountain bike and they look at it and they're just like, these guys are cooked, like these guys are nuts. and then like there is prize money, but it's not massive, like if you compare it to other sports, and then with the risk involved, which is way higher than a lot of other sports, it's how do you what's your feeling on that, and like how things have been going in terms of like, you know, being rewarded money wise for events like whether it's Slopestyle, Rampage, whatever?
The risk versus reward topic is one that is tough because with this sport especially, the risk versus reward is absolutely does not line up. But that the issue is that risk versus reward also doesn't decide money in this world. There's a lot of people that do a lot of really, really gnarly shit just because they want to. Think about jumpers or cliff jumpers, whether it's for a social clip or whatever. They are literally risking pure death. Like even some of these parkour stunts I see on social, I'm like, it's not those things are not for the money. Like it's like you're risking because it fuels your adrenaline or it fuels your passion to go further, and then that persona is what then gets you those contracts and that money. So like, I think for Slopestyle and Rampage and mountain biking in general, it's a similar idea where you're trying to build a persona where then people can be inspired by you and be fans of you. And then companies can support you because you're that type of figure. You know what I mean? Like you don't go out in Crankworx and say like, I want to do this insane trick because I want to win this contest because I want to make this money. It's like you want to do it for the glory of being a champion, and then for people then to like see you as this figure that they can't wait to watch you on the screen or things like that. And then comes the money from being that figure that people root for and stuff. It's not like direct risk to reward. It's not like you do the trick, you get the money, you move on. It's a much like broader package. You agree with me on this or no?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, we don't have the money at this point that the biggest sports do. So, I mean, as I said, we all do this for the love of it. But at the same time, it's like when it does become your career, you need at some point you need to make money because like you need to eat and you need to pay bills, and also be realistic about like the amount of risk you're willing to take for being able to support, especially when you get a family and, you know, something like that. But it is just even a lot of people from outside, like my wife, when I first met her and took her to Leogang actually, and she was just like, this is insane, like what the hell? And like that was like pretty chilled, you know. She was just watching the guys ride down the downhill track, and I was just like, and she's like, why are you doing this? The guys who win must get so much money. And I was like, well, no, actually they win just about nothing, you know. They rely on sponsorships, but it is a crazy to like people are not involved. It's like a crazy concept to have that much passion for something that you're willing to risk your life for not that much in the bigger scheme of things, you know.
It's definitely makes us seem like we're twisted because we almost like live for this risk. It's like, like, oh, you must be making loads of money. Like, nah. Like, oh, you must be like famous from like, nah. Like, why you do it? It's like it kind of makes it seem super twisted because it's so much risk. But man, like so many sports have this risk, and like if you're not at the top level pro, like every sport has this risk versus reward issue. But those like big money top level sports, they just have crazy money involved. So when you look at that, it's tough.
When you're talking about the risk side, obviously you haven't done Rampage now for a few years. You had that, I remember that huge iconic crash that you had some years ago. So first of all, why haven't you done Rampage in recent years? And like that crash, for example, did that have ever any impact on you, or was it kind of like, like just all good kind of thing?
I was just thinking about that last year because, not last year, when I was at Rampage this year, because the site of the ladies for this year is the same site that I crashed at.
Yeah.
So as I'm walking around and going up and looking at this cliff that I fell down, it's really lucky for me that I didn't have serious injuries on that day. I had like a bunch of scrapes on my face because I was trying to stop myself from falling off the cliff. I was scraping my face. I didn't have goggles on that day because it was so bright. I had some whiplash in my neck, but I didn't have like any serious injuries. I had like no broken bones, minor concussion with full memory of the crash, slight bit of soreness, couple cuts on the face, but nothing to like really give me a sort of like PTSD, you know, because I feel like the trauma doesn't come from the crashing because like, I don't know about you, but like I'm fine with crashing if there's no injury. Like if it's a super gnarly crash and you get a little scraped up and like that's all part of it. But then when you get hurt and you break shit and you experience like that pain in those moments of like, what is wrong with me? Then that like gives you more PTSD. So I feel like it's a blessing. Well, I know it's absolutely a blessing that I was basically uninjured on that crash, because I think if I was injured, it would be a lot harder for me to go to that site and look at everything and be like, look that I fell down and be like, man, it's when things got really rough, you know? So yeah, like, oh no, you're asking me if that's why I didn't do Rampage. I feel like Rampage changed a bit after that year. And I don't think it was because of me. There was a lot of gnarly shit that happened that year. There was 10 plus people that had to go to the hospital. I didn't even have to go to the hospital. So that's plus besides me, you had not the worst crash, because that's also the year Paul Bass's crash.
Yeah.
He was potentially winning run, overshoots a drop, can't control it. Like, so that year was really gnarly. And after that year, I don't know if it was because the injuries or just because Red Bull and the event itself and Todd and everyone wanted to like restructure. Because after that, like they detached from FMB. The reason that I was at Rampage was because it was an FMB World Tour event.
Okay.
Like it was full, like it was we had like Crankworx, District Ride, Crankworx. Boom, we're at Rampage. And it's all part of the same point system. And I was like not doing bad in slope in those first years, so I was invited. And I was like, Red Bull Rampage, like this is the most legendary event. If you send me an invite, I'm going, you know, like I'm not prepared. I barely rode a downhill bike. I'm a BMX kid, but like I'm going, you know, like this is a huge opportunity. You know, like how many times is this opportunity going to come around? So the first year I was completely unprepared. And then the second year, the year of the crash, I rode Rampage 2 times total. The first year I was not prepared at all. Still jumped the cane gap, and then I did a front flip lower and crashed. And then the next year is the year of the crash, and I felt way more prepared. The line was good, I thought, but it just made a huge mistake, too much front braking off the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I was opposed to doing Rampage after, but because, like I'm saying, the event completely switched the structure, no FMB, I was fully slopestyle focused after that. Like I just committed fully to being a slopestyle rider in those years following. So not much time put into Utah. And that's the thing about Utah. Like it's a really gnarly riding zone, even if you know how to ride there. Like, so when you don't know how to ride there, it's very technical. Like the different colors of the dirt, the setup, how steep everything is, how exposed everything is. It's a no mistake zone out there. So especially when you don't spend time out there, things get really spooky. Like I was just out there riding with Reed Boggs a bit when we were hanging with Adolf there. I went there with my bike. And it's like those first laps that you get, like the locals are chilling because they're used to it, but you're like looking, there's a huge cliff on one side, huge cliff on the other side. You're riding on like the skinniest path. It's like very difficult to like instantly get used to. It takes a little while to get comfortable out there. So I feel like that's why I haven't really committed and tried to ride it. But I am motivated to potentially make a return there. It's not the first thing on my list, but it's motivating for sure.
Yeah, it's such a unique event. Like, and a lot of people that also aren't involved in the sport, like if those are the videos they see, you know, when I tell someone like I'm a downhill rider, they're like, oh, you do that stuff like where they jump off the cliffs, right? The Red Bull thing. And like, so I feel like a lot more people are exposed to that than other riding, whether it's slopestyle or anything else. But it's hard to explain to people how I haven't been to Utah. But having like being a rider myself, like when that stuff looks that big on TV, I'm like, this stuff is ridiculous. Like I think it's hard to imagine for even a rider, like how big some of the stuff is. And then what is that like for you having done it and being in the scene and being like friends with all the guys, you know, like this year seeing like Adolf's crash and Emil's crash, like, and being there, like, yeah, how does that feel for you? And like, what's the kind of reality of that?
Watching Rampage as like a true friend of these guys is quite an emotional roller coaster because it's so motivating because it's such a big opportunity in one way, you know, like money aside, like if you are a Rampage champion or you do a iconic moment at Rampage, this goes in the history books. Like you can make hear from these moments. And so it's like your friends are out there with a chance to become legends, you know, and that's like amazing to see and very motivating to see. But you also know the risk and the unpredictability Like those crashes that we saw from Adolf and Emil especially, there was some vicious ones in practice. Aiden's one in practice was vicious. I remember Clemens one last year in practice.
Yeah.
Just there was like, Simon Godzik. I don't know how he got it from that. That was a vicious crash. So like it's so unpredictable because it can go so wrong. It's like, it's going perfect. It's going perfect. A little, not enough speed, and it goes so wrong. So you're so tense there. So seeing those crashes, it's not like a surprise, but it's still so gnarly and so horrible. And this was like a really, really twisted year, especially like the whole situation around the Adolf crash, because there was rumors about him doing the double flip. It wasn't like a confirmed thing. It wasn't like he was for sure going to do it, but if it was possible, he was going to go for it, you know? And a lot of us didn't try to talk him out of it. I think some people were probably trying to talk him out of it, but he's a very strong guy on his own beliefs, you know? And he's also the type of rider that there's been so many times in his career where someone was like, Adolf, bro, that's not possible. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I watch this. Like,
yeah,
Masters of Dirt shows. There was last year, he was on the back of a snowmobile and they were doing a backflip together. And then he's like, I'm going to do a flip Superman seat grab off of the back of the snowmobile while I'm on the back. And all of us are like, bro, you're going to fly off the snowmobile. And like, that's the most risky thing ever. Like, what are you doing? You can't do that. And he goes backflip, grabs the guy. Marcus Olsen is the snowmobile driver. And he like does the Superman seat grab on the back of this snowmobile.
Insane.
And the same thing, like he was in the back of a buggy, and we were like, bro, you won't body barrel the back of the buggy. And he like is on the back of this buggy, jumping in the air, doing the body barrel on it. I remember some of his Dark Fest double backflips, like, bro, you can't double flip this, and he goes and does it. So he's been a guy that his whole career, it's been the odds against him. People tell him he can't do it, and that motivates him to go out and do it even more. And so me thinking about this double back, I was even talking to Cam McCall before the event. I'm like, I think he's going to try this double backflip, and the whole time he's in the air, we're going to think he's not going to land it, and then he's miraculously going to find a way to land it. Because even at Masters of Dirt this year, he was double backflipping his motocross bike, his Stark, and he pulled wrong. The position of the flip was wrong, and in the end, the landing was perfect. It was such an electric moment in the arena, and it was like, how did he do that? Like, how did he just manage to do that? So I thought this whole situation was going to be the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That it was going to be an impossible move that he somehow makes happen. And then unfortunately, it was just a bit short. Like, it's this much short. It's so close. The result of the crash and the whole crash makes it look like, wow, would he ever try that? Like, come on, it wasn't even close. Like, if you really look, like, the front wheel touches. Like, if the front wheel, if it goes a little more, that's fine. You can land on your front wheel.
Yeah.
Right when the front wheel kind of hits. So it's this close, you know what I mean? And I was just watching one of his vlogs yesterday where he was still like, still loco, he calls them, super motivating, super inspirational. But he was doing some Q&A and answering some questions. And they're asking him if he regrets it and stuff. And he's like, you never know. Like, you never know. And that's like the way that he's lived his whole career. Like, you never know until you go for it and you try. And that's like, I think that's an amazing mentality to be in, that you're willing to risk everything because you just never know. So yeah, that was extremely heavy. Everyone like stepped up in the right way, though. It seems like everyone stepped up in the right way and put him in the right mindset. So prayers to Adolf, but he's honestly inspiring all of us. But yeah, if we move on to that crash to Emil's one, which luckily was not as bad, but had the potential of being even worse considering he almost fell off of. That one was really shocking to me, and that also is crazy that I had a conversation with Cam McCall the night before. Cam and I walk around the mountain because we're in the booth together. We got to like get a gauge of what's gnarly to be like on the same emotional wave.
Yeah.
So we were walking around the mountain, and for some reason, on top of that drop, we didn't know that Emil was going to tail whip this. We heard some rumors about some 360s happening from Simon Godzik especially, but no rumors of the tail whips or anything. And I asked Cam, we're standing on top of this drop, that Emil, Tommy G, Simon Godzik, we're standing on top of this drop. And I asked Cam, I'm like, Cam, how much money to tail whip this drop? And Cam was looking down at the drop, thinking about it, looking at what happens if you go one way, looking what happens if you go the other way. And it's really thinking, and like he really took a lot of time to process and think of this answer. He turns to me and he goes, Nicholai, no amount of money in this world would make me tell. So,
Holy
so
shit.
think about how we feel the next day when we see Emil taking off to not tail whip, opposite tail whip this drop that we just said no amount of money would ever convince us to do it. And then the result that was from our nightmares, we were like, no, dude. So that's where this risk versus reward conversation comes in. Those risks, that double backflip, that opposite tail whip, they're not like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get this money. It's like just about motivating yourself to make that happen, to cement yourself into the history books, potentially to push your level as a rider. It's money alone cannot motivate you to do moves like to do these life risker moves. So inspirational stuff, really. Emil looks like he's on a good way recovery wise. And yeah, man, gnarly stuff. Like I said, in one way, it's really motivating to ride Rampage, but in another way, you see what's required to go for a podium finish or go for a victory, and you have to risk everything. So yeah, the sport is in a crazy place of people being willing to risk everything.
Just seeing being there and like witnessing those crashes, being a pro rider yourself, and like you're doing similar tricks, right? So maybe it's not right there on that day, but like just seeing that have any impact on you, like, do you have any thought of that, because being potentially, having a spinal injury or something like that, and which could be, life changing. Do you ever think about that, or is it you just kind of block that out?
You definitely try not to think about it, but sometimes those thoughts kind of invade your brain, and it requires a lot of mental strength to push those things away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that is inspiring about a lot of these riders that have had very brutal injuries. Like as soon as you have a brutal injury, you always think back to that. In moments where your adrenaline starts pumping, or you start getting nervous for something, for some reason, those flashes come back in your mind. Shit, my fucking shit was snapped. Oh, I was staying unconscious. Like, you kind of have those thoughts invading your brain. I don't know if you have the same, but like, you have those thoughts that invade your brain, those horrible thoughts of like the worst thing that can happen is going to happen right now.
Yeah, I've been in that situation. I've had some pretty big injuries myself. I've got a hip replacement, broken both of my hips. Like I had a lot of things as well. But I always found like as a racer, being like in the start gate for me, or like being lined up to go into the start gate, like the worst thing would be like when someone has a big crash, like 1 or 2 runs before you, and then there's a big delay. And then there's the helicopter coming in, and like everyone's waiting at the top, and that like in a few minutes you've got to drop in, and like someone else just got carted off potentially, with life-threatening injuries, and you're like, holy shit. Like I feel like that was always something that I really struggled with. Like if it wasn't at a race, like somehow it didn't bother me as much. Like we were just in practice, because you're just like, oh, maybe it's just, I don't know, some random dude that has no idea how to ride. But like when it's like one of the best guys in the world, then you're like, wow, okay, like this, it makes it seem more real, that it can happen to anyone. Even look at Emil, like how he looks so picture perfect when he rides. Like it's hard to imagine him making a mistake, because it's just like when he's on, like you just like, this guy's like a robot. It's just like everything just is perfect. But then, as we saw, like things can happen to anyone.
Yeah. No, that like in slopestyle, we kind of have to have a short-term memory, because we get 2 runs. You know what I mean? Because you guys kind of like like the weekend obviously has more runs, and if there's quality or whatever, but the final day is like that 1 run.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, we have 2. So if you make a mistake on the first run, you almost have to have that short-term memory loss. Like I think they say it for NFL players too that play defense. Like if you let a big play happen, or like a goalie or something, like if you let in a shit goal, you can't like live in the past. You have to like be able to instantly forget about that and move on. So I think in slopestyle, we have a lot of that short-term memory too. You do a run and you make like a brutal mistake, and you have to like act like that never happened. Because like if you keep living in that like little moment, then it's going to influence you. So I feel like what you're talking about with those injuries, we try to do the same thing. Like, you see your homie go down. It's obviously invading your brain, but you have to like have that short-term memory loss of like, oh, that didn't happen. I'm locked in on my own thing. Obviously, when you finish the run, like you can embrace those emotions and stuff, but like that's tough to like put that out of your brain. And I can't imagine, because I was hanging out with him in the days after, but for a rider like Reed Boggs, he was like potentially debating dropping for that second run at Rampage after a bunch of his homies go down. Reed is extremely close with Adolf. Reed has been close with Emil over the years, not like tight like boys, but close. Same with Simon Godziak. So he sees these injuries and crashes happen, and he has to stand up there and act like they did not happen, or act like they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. You know what I mean? And that's in the moment, that's incredible mental strength, and it's very difficult to do, but also like leads to a lot of emotions after this. You know, you kind of like block out your emotions. You make yourself into like this stone like robot of a human that just needs to be on her own mission, just because like that's kind of how we're built in this competitive format, this 2-run competitive format. Like you have to like really just focus on that mission, no matter how poorly the day is going for you or for others, you know? So yeah, it's really difficult. I think back to also, because you brought up like the heli coming in and then having to be the riders after. We had a really gnarly situation in Big White last year. Big White is one of the biggest slopestyle courses in the world. Some of the craziest runs go down there. And a Swedish rider, actually, I think Emil's best friend, basically, Lucas Skeel, was on the run of his life. And he did a front flip into the whale tail, lands the front flip, loses the hands, and goes head first into the takeoff of the step down, you know?
Yeah.
He's just up there with a broken neck on this whale tail. We have to go with like 10 or 15 people to get this stretcher up, get the stretcher off of this whale tail, load him into the ambulance. He has a broken neck. We don't know if he's going to be okay. Luckily, he walked back to the hotel after with a neck brace. Like, oh yeah, boy, a little break in my neck. I'm good. But we had to, like, after all this gnarly shit, seeing this crash, literally in our pads and contest jerseys, like helping this stretcher off, not knowing if our homie is going to be okay, and then having to go and then drop in and do the gnarliest runs of our life on this huge course. Like, this was very, very difficult mentally, but somehow a lot of us guys were able to do some of our best runs. And yeah, but it's tough. Like, it's a lot of just a mental block, really, emotion block.
Do you feel like Rampage is there a way to make it safer? Like, do you feel like it's because a lot of people, especially this year after the crashes, you know, people in the comments and like people that I know that watched the event, they were like, oh no, like I prefer watching the women's event because it was like more like realistic. Like there's like the men's is just so ridiculous now, and the risk is so high. They don't want to see people get hurt. No one wants to see that. Do you feel like it's kind of gone too far, or is there a way that things can be improved to make it a bit safer for the riders?
So the improvement is a new site. So if you notice this year, some of the past champions and the biggest dogs of the sport chose not to compete. Guys like Kyle Straight, guys like Brandon Semenuk, guys like Sorgi, because this was, if I'm not mistaken, this is the 4th time that Rampage has happened on that specific site.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it very gnarly because every rider thinks that they need to do a gnarlier run than the ones that have previously been done on that site. And the runs that have previously been done on that site are already insane Rampage runs. Mm-hmm. These riders are literally like building these impossible features, like double flip the step down. Kurt Sorgi won the event and he flipped it straight.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the Godziak and Janon are spitting that top drop, you simply do not do anything on that drop. Like the level is just insane. Like the Hayden Zablotny entry off the top with the lily pad, one bike length long. I mean, I could say crazy things about everyone's line because everyone is pushing it. Like Lemoyne built off of the Goblin, which is already so gnarly. He goes like 20 feet further the other way off the Goblin. So the point I'm trying to make is, with a new site, you can't build stuff like this. That mountain is raw. That mountain is steep. And you don't know what's possible. So in that 2 weeks of building and practice, if it's a fully new site, you cannot build stuff that's that insane for those type of tricks and everything. Yeah. Where this cycle is the 4th time, you're just trying to make things more and more crazy, and it leads to runs that are just ridiculous. Yeah. And such dangerous runs. So I think that if they can find a new site, which is incredibly difficult, finding a site for Rampage where it's safe but also gnarly and also has access and you can actually do a full broadcasted event there, like, this is difficult. So I think if they're able to find a new site that has not yet been competed on, then it's going to be a lot more pleasurable to watch and less death-defying.
Mm-hmm.
But that's crazy that you one of your friends said that they would rather watch the women's, because I feel like the women were going completely mental on their side, bro.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's all, I mean, it all depends on the people. Some people like to watch people get hurt, but, yeah, I don't think, I mean, it's fine if people crash and they get up and it's all good, but, no one wants to see people, get badly hurt. So that's, I guess, like, obviously the women were insane, but obviously not quite as gnarly as the men. But that's, that is just the nature of the sport, because, the men are stronger and things. But it's crazy how far the women have come over the last, like, few years. And, like, also, like, events like Dark Fest and stuff, and the women doing 2-to-Bs, and, like, people have, like, I'm from Cape Town as well, and I've ridden at Ike's Farm quite a bit, and I've been on that course, and I've walked down there, and, like, I'd actually be quite keen to do a fest series, but, like, people have no idea how massive those jumps are. Like, people watch online, like, oh, sweet, and they see the woman hitting it. Like, dude, you have no idea how big these jumps are. Like, it's like a football field, like that 110 or whatever. So it's like,
oh yeah, that's like the most ridiculous jump in the world. I think it's insane.
But coming back to, like, the slopestyle side, like, and obviously that's, like, been your main focus, like, and also the crashing, like, it's pretty crazy to me that there are injuries, but, like, comparing it to Rampage, it feels like there's a lot more at an event like Rampage in terms of percentage of riders than there is in slopestyle. Even though the guys crash a lot, you guys somehow just, like, tuck and roll. Like, how do you like you're in the middle of a cash roll and suddenly you just eject and you're like, fine. Like, how do you learn that?
I honestly think a lot of slopestyle training is also crash training, because if you do an entire slopestyle event start to finish with no crashes, that means you're probably not pushing your levels hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in practice, like, there has to be some sketchy moments or some crashes happening if you're really trying to do the best run you can do. Some blown up tires, some slams, some slide outs, some cases and overheat shit. That's all part of it. It's like not a trial and error type of sport, but in a way it is. You're like, I think I can do a double flip on this hit, and then you try it and you're like, well, that's not going to work. Or you're like, maybe this trick will work on this jump, and then you try it and you're like, oh, damn, I can do even more. So it's so much trial and error. So I feel like that's why in training, the crashing is like part of the training, because you have to be ready to crash, and you have to be ready to crash in the right way. Because if you come to these events, you try something, it goes wrong, you crash, and you can't continue, then you can't, like, really push your runs in your career that much. So if you are able to learn how to crash in a safer way to get out of these moves, like you're saying, you're in the middle of a crazy move, it's going wrong, you eject. You got to, like, learn how to put your body to not crumble the whole thing and, like, smoke your head and everything. So I feel like all of us slope riders, like, whether we're riding on airbags or mulch jumps or normal dirt, like, during the sessions, we're crashing a lot. Not a lot, but like, we're willing to crash is what I mean.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what's part of the training, and that's what allows you to have a crash in practice that seems crazy, get up, go again, or have a crash in that first run like I was talking about, forget that ever happened, forget about the pain, and go again. So yeah, that's what I've kind of learned over the years with slopestyle, is that, like, one of the best abilities you can have is durability. You know what I mean? Like, if you're durable, like, then you can try things, crash, and push yourself further, like, even like a rider like Brett Reeder, his durability was always something that impressed me so much. He's a frail guy. He's not like some sort of muscular beast, like a skinny built guy. Like, that's just the way, like, he's elite form, but the crashes he's had in practice, like flip wit, flat drop, under rotate, crash. I remember at one year in Whistler, he did this truck down whip. He got all caught up, huge crash. Vienna Air King once in practice, he broke his helmet in 2 pieces. An hour later, he won the contest. Like, those insane slopestyle performers have like some serious durability, because it's the type of sport where it's not going to go perfect. Like, and in the most successful competitions you have are the kind of the ones that are going to really test you and test how tough you can be, So yeah, I think that's, like, what you asked is how we can crash and get up. And I think, like, that's part of our preparation.
You mentioned R. Willie a little while back, and I had him on the pod as well a few months ago, and super nice guy. But he told me that he's never broken a bone before, and I know that Sam Reynolds also a couple of years ago now, he was testing one of the jumps at Darkfest and crashed, and he broke his wrist, I think, and that was that was the first, as far as I know, that was the first bone that he'd broken, which is just like wild to me. Like when I don't know. I mean, I've had a lot of things, and I know a lot of other people have had a lot of things. But then when you look at you guys, and I think like the Slopestyle guys from the outside, it's like you guys must break things on the weekly basis, kind of thing, But it seems like it's not necessarily the case. Like you guys somehow know how to get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely moments where you get unlucky and stuff. And there's definitely riders that are more unlucky with injuries than others. Like a rider that comes to mind is Caden Ingersoll. Like Caden Ingersoll has a gymnast background and is incredibly fundamentally skilled and strong and can take crashes very well. But like this year in Cairns in Australia at Crankworx, he goes for his first practice lap, overshoots a jump too far. Like I was saying, bullshit happens in practice. Overshoots a jump, lands too far, breaks his foot, out for the event, comes back, goes from the foot, goes to Silver Star, which is 1 week before the Red Bull Joyride, does a flip bar to whip, which he can do in his sleep. His arm flies off, does the whip. He tries to avoid landing on the foot that's broken, so he like kind of puts it under him, ends up landing on his back and butt and breaking one of his vertebrae. And it's like, this stuff can just get you, even if you're the most durable seeming rider. And he's young and everything, so it's a matter of luck and everything too. Like sometimes the luck really will get you. Like you have a huge crash that you should get injured, and you're like, wow.
Yeah,
fine. And then one that's like a dinky little crash, and then you're like, oh God, I've broken something. So yeah, I mean, I didn't know that Willie still hasn't broken a bone. I remember seeing him posting about that a few years ago, and I thought it happened at this point.
Yeah.
A lot of people might say like he's riding resis and he's riding airbags, but like if you look at this dude on concrete and dirt, like he crashes just as hard, if not harder, on those. Yeah. The durability is crazy on that guy. But that's what I mean. See what you can do when you're durable. You can do like the most psychotic tricks the world has ever seen. You know what I mean? If you can take 100 crashes and get up from them. So yeah.
Another guy actually that comes to mind is Theo Erlangsson. You probably know Theo because I think he did break something, but like very minor. Like it was nothing like super serious. And he's not doing slopestyle, but he's had some gnarly crashes over the years. And like somehow he's just like jumps back up, and you're like, what the hell? Like is this guy made out of like rubber or something? And I'm not that I wish a crash an injury on anyone, but it's just like it's very interesting to me, like how some guys can just get up and others seem to always go to the hospital.
It is interesting for sure. Like different riders are built different, and like it seems like the build of the rider. I was actually discussing this with some people last year, and I want to see what you think. You do think there's an elite body build for a mountain biker? Because if you look at slopestyle and the legends of slopestyle, they kind of have a similar build, but some people are different. If you look at like Brandon and Brett and Emil and David Godzic, they're kind of all between 6'2" and 6'4", lanky but still strong, built tall. But then there's guys like Tim, who's just an absolute Hulk.
Yeah.
And then there's someone like me who has won a good amount of contests, and I'm definitely shorter and more like square shaped, really, like built for crashing and stuff like that. So I would like, what do you think? Do you think there's like an elite build for the best mountain biker, or you don't think so?
Hard to say. I think it depends. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's coincidence that those three are built like that, but I mean, you would be certainly up there in that conversation as well, and you're very differently built to them. To be honest, I wouldn't have thought it would be a good thing to be that tall, but maybe because they're tall, they can like manhandle the bike a bit easier, or, with spins and stuff. Certainly not in slopestyle, in the downhill side, I would say it's probably not the best to be super tall, like not short, but like if you look at like Jackson, like what he's doing, he's killing it. And I think like his size, I think in a lot of places his size helps him, especially on steeper tracks and stuff. So, but maybe because of the slopestyle and like having to really spin the bike and manhandle, maybe that does play a role. Hard to say.
It seems like the riders just kind of have to, those elite riders, like I think they're just elite, and it's not because of their build. They just find a way to not prioritize, but make the most out of the way they're built. Like with, I think with David Godziak does twister no-hander so easily. Like he does twister no-hander easier than he does just a twister. And I'm trying to learn twister no-handers for years, and I can sometimes do them, but like so hard for me to get in there. And I see him and I feel like he's taller and he can just kind of lean over the bars and have everything more there. But like maybe he's just more elite at that trick than I am, you know? Like I don't know if it's like the body or like the skills of it. And same with someone like Emil, he does like the downside whips and he's able to get so far above his bike, you know, like in such a steep fashion. Whether it's like 360 triple topside or 360 triple downside, he's like putting the legs to the sky and he's like way over it. And I don't know if that massive build helps or if he just makes it work. But like you brought up Jackson, but if you think about like Greg Menard, the dude is massive and he has like the most elite career of all time.
Yeah, I don't think I think you can do it with any body size. Maybe there is easier than others, but I think, you know, you can certainly do it with both. I think being strong is never a bad thing, you know, for when you do hit the ground. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's quite the cool thing about mountain biking is that you can do it, you know, whether you're short, tall, like strong, thin, you kind of, I mean, obviously there'll be pros and cons, but you can kind of do it from whichever size you are, which is pretty sick actually. Because I mean, a lot of other sports, and you're talking about football and stuff, if you haven't got some muscle on you, you go in there, you're going to get flattened.
That's true.
Like, you were talking about all some of the tricks there. Like when you are when you've gone into contests before, whether you won or not, like, are there any times where you throw a trick where you're not fully confident, or is it always that you know beforehand, like, I got this kind of thing?
No, dude, that's why I do crazy celebrations, bro. The greatest celebrations I've done is times where I was convinced that I was not going to land the trick, but sheer willpower, I said, I am going to land this. And then you go for it, you give everything, and somehow you land it. Like, man, this makes me like freak out inside, you know? I feel like in Innsbruck especially, there was one year where Brett Reeder and I were battling. And I had just like kind of learned the calf roll tail whip. It's like calf roll tail kind of ends up more like a 720 tail whip. But I had like kind of just learned it. And I did my first run, and he did his first run. He was above me, and I was trying to beat him. And I like was trying to figure out what I needed to do to beat him. I remember I was talking with Ryan Nyquist, the legend, and Anthony Mazzieri, also legend. I was talking to them. I'm like, what do I have to do in this lap? What do I have to do on this? Because in the first round, I did front flip bar to no hand. And then I was thinking like maybe like some improvement of that. And then they were like, no, it's not enough. It's not enough. Because Reeder was doing some crazy moves. And he was doing like opposites and stuff. And I had no opposites. So I had to like hammer the biggest bangers I could do. We're brainstorming. And then I just suddenly think, I'm like, Kashi whip. And then both of them are like, yes. And then so I was like, damn, I don't know if I can land this. I really don't, because I don't think I've ever landed it on dirt. But if I want a chance to win this event, I have to go do this. And so I tried to stay patient. I do the run. I had the cork 7 on the step down right before the Kashi whip. I have to lock in on the cork 7 to land it good. Do the cork 7, I land, and I'm like, okay, this is the time. This is the time. And I didn't really even know how the trick fell. So I just go. I do it. I'm like, I don't know. And then I just like land perfect. And in that moment, like the biggest relief off the shoulders, the biggest like shocker for myself, because like literally it's like it was planned. Like it was planned, but you're saying like 100% sure that you can do it. Like there was like almost no percentage of thinking I could do it. Like my determination to do it was 100%. My desire to do it was 100%, but like whether or not I could actually complete it successfully, there was like no confirmation. So I feel like those situations, like I was just selling, completely freaking out, and just such an emotional release, you know? So those are really the moments that I live for in slopestyle. That's like the best thing ever, when you're not sure, you know you need to do it, and then you somehow complete it. Like it's hard for me to like relate that to something.
Yeah. It's well, I can relate in a sense, but like not doing tricks, but like on the clock. Like for me, it's like when I've been racing, it's not always about the result. It's about like doing the best that you can do like that day. Like whether that puts you in 5th or 1st or 10th or whatever, it's like, but when you get down and you know that you did something that you didn't think you could do or weren't even sure you could do, but you did it, you went faster than a certain time or whatever, like that is such a sick feeling. Like, and that's, I guess, the type of feeling that you would have got from landing something that you didn't expect to land.
Yeah, it's like I forget who I was talking to about this. It's like the performances that you impress yourself, you know, like all of us riders, I feel like hold ourselves to a certain standard. Like I would be okay with this result. I would be stoked on this result. And like, I would be really fired up on this result. But then if like you're saying results aside, if you like go above all of that with just your performance alone, regardless of the result, look back on the day and you're like, I am personally impressed. Whole performance. Then you know it was a successful day. Like you feel the same, no? Like when you're like, damn, I really fucking went above and beyond today.
That's it's something that not many people can understand, but that's like the best feeling. I feel like it's not only about the results, it's just about doing something that you didn't think you could do or doing better than you expected. Is like, you're like, dude, that was sick. Like, I can't believe I did that kind of thing.
Let's talk about the opposite for a sec. Like, have you ever like had the complete opposite? Because I feel like that is the worst. When you're like so ashamed, you're like, oh.
Dude, I've also have you ever been in a situation where you do a run, like you do a slopestyle run, I do a race run, but like you get to the bottom and you think it was pretty good, and then like look at the result and you're like, what the hell? Like, what did I do wrong? Kind of thing. And it's a bit of a mind fuck because you're like, you just don't know what to think.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in our sport, it's even more confusing because you guys are like against yourselves and against the clock, and Real's fully judged. And sometimes like, you're not sure what the judges want that day or like how they're judging. So sometimes like you come down to a run and you're like, damn, that was a pretty sick run. That was awesome. Then the score comes in, it's like in the 60s or in the 70s, and you're like, hey, I guess my run was like the worst thing ever seen, you know? But then there's also been other times where it's like also confused you, where you're like not so stoked on the run. You're like, like, that felt all right. And then the score comes in at like a 90 and you're like, whoa, okay, so I guess it was sick then, you know? Like, it's harder to judge your own performance, but maybe it's the same for you. Like maybe like the time is worse or better than you felt like it was. I don't know. What do you think?
Sometimes, yeah. Like sometimes you can come down and you think you went fast and you actually went super slow. And other times, I've had times where I've won races and then I thought I was gonna come like 5th, and then I ended up winning, and I was like, what the hell? Like that run didn't feel that special. So it's just, I don't know. It's weird sometimes. Is there a moment you've won a lot of events, you won a Triple Crown, like you won all sorts of things. Like, is there something? It doesn't even have to be a win. Like, but was there a time and moment that kind of sticks out to you in your career where you were like, doesn't get better than that?
Yes. District Ride 2017. District Ride 2017, the first 1440 that I was landed in contest. So District Ride 2017, I was working on the 1440. We had a best trick competition the night before the event. I tried some 14s. I barely landed one, but I was like, yo, I can do 14. And we had 2 runs that day, classic slopestyle. I did my first run, and I was in 3rd place. I was behind Emil. I was behind Simon Gauthier. And I knew I needed to improve the run very viciously all the way through. And then at the end, if everything came down to it, go for the 1440. And like District Ride is crazy. You go through all these districts, you go through all the city, the run takes ages. And then you have to go up the elevator. And then you come out and there's, I think they say 75,000 people there. Like, it's insane how many people.
Crazy.
So I remember just trying to stay so mentally composed during that whole run, you know, like one feature at a time, one district at a time, everything. And I made it to the end, going up the elevator. And I remember I was doing motions in the elevator, like I was just still so locked in. And then I come out and I was standing on top of the roll-in, and like everyone's so far below. And I was trying to ask the boys, like some of the boys that already finished their runs. I remember it was like Thomas Lemoyne, Logan Pete, Ryan Nyquist, maybe Max Fredrickson. There was like a little group of them that was like standing up at me like, yeah. And I was trying to ask them what I should do. I was like, boys, 3 or 4, like 3 or 4, like asking them like what I should do, like just the twister again or 14, because I was like so tripped out like about the score, because the scoring in that event is so crazy, and I was just like trying to be calm, and I was like 3 or 4, but it's so far away that they had no idea what I was asking them. They're like, and then I had no idea what feedback they were giving back to me. I was like, are these guys telling me 3 or are these guys telling me 4? Like, I don't fucking know. And then so I'm like, all right, when in doubt, you have to go for it. So I was like, okay, I go for 14. I got it. And then I realized that I was just risking everything. I had done the winning run, and it was possible for me to maybe win with the twister, but like maybe not, because Simon and Emil still had to go after me. And so I was like, you know what? I go for it. And then the feeling when I landed that, like I drop in, pedal, pump, spin, everything feels good. I land perfect. And I just remember like I've never been so in disbelief about like a landed trick. Like we talked about the Cashy whip from Innsbruck before, but this was another level. I remember I was like looking at this guy. I was just like over the moon. And if we're talking like best feelings, best competition feelings, like that one for some reason just tops everything. Like that one, I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because of so much commotion in the moment that just like came perfectly the way it should have, like so much commotion in my brain, so many nerves, so much adrenaline, and then just like land perfect. But yeah, it's just that is like a feeling and a celly and everything that I will never forget. Like even above the Triple Crown, even above winning the World Championship in Whistler. Yeah, for some reason that one will stick with me forever.
That's sick. I can't even imagine. Like that's another thing. Like with your tricks, like you definitely go more for like the banger tricks, where some guys focus more on doing opposites and things like that. Which I think for the people watching sometimes is confusing, because like you watch your run and then you watch like Emil's run, and sometimes people like your run to someone who doesn't understand a sport, like your run could look more impressive, because it's like you're doing such crazy spins and tricks and like, but I guess, yeah, people don't understand the kind of technicality, behind it. But I guess that's always the challenge with a judged event,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, at least my dad says this, I feel like I've always been crowd pleaser type of rider.
Mm-hmm.
So if it comes from riding shows when I was young or anything, I remember there's one TV show that they were interviewing my dad, and he was like, he always ride better when there are fans, especially if girls around. So like from like a young age that like I was motivated if there was people watching or if there was girls watching or things like that. So I think that started to dictate my riding style, because I was like, what's going to make people go more crazy, more spins or more crazy looking rotations. So I kind of was motivated to do that. Whereas riders like Emil, they are in their own zone. They're in their own tunnel, and they kind of are more motivated with pushing their own levels of technicality. And like in the end, it makes a very successful strategy because the judges are the ones judging the event. Like it's not fan judge. The fans like you, they cheer for you. It feels awesome when they cheer for you. But if the fans are cheering crazy and the judges give you a bad score because the other riders are way more tech, then really wins at the end of the day, So I feel like there's the judges and contests in general. There's been a couple times where it was like the hype that kind of won me the event, like maybe the other rider's run was more technical or more uniquely difficult, whereas my one was just more powerful and visually pleasing and easier to understand. So I feel like I've been able to benefit from that strategy a little bit, luckily. But I've always kind of said, like, you don't ride for the judges, you ride for yourself. And that's how you stay motivated. That's how you love it. Like so many of the competitors that rode for the judges had to leave the sport because that's hard mentally. You know, like if you're a Seminuk or if you're a reader and you come to the event and you are determined to win the event. And if you do not come first place at this event, then like you're emotionally devastated and your goal is not complete. I feel like that's so difficult to put so much pressure on yourself. Whereas my main motivation was making the crowd go crazy. As long as I make the crowd go crazy, I'm enjoying it. So I feel like that's allowed me to enjoy things more over the years, and also kind of just like root for my fellow competitors, because it was like less about my own mission and more about like everyone going crazy.
That's one thing that I've noticed is that you seem to be so stoked for guys, like even if they beat you, like if they just nail their run, like I mean, and which is hard, like because you want to win too, right? So and then a guy comes down, lays down a sick run, and you just like you so stoked, and you look so genuinely stoked as well, which is super cool to see. You know, the sportsmanship, which not everyone has. Like you know, you can see some guys, you know, if they don't have the run they wanted, they look pretty pissed and. which is also kind of natural, I guess. So what do you think is it? Is it just that the fact that you're not that bothered with the results, or you kind of had a different focus? What makes you able to kind of be so chilled about it?
Man, I think it's because like these friendships with these guys are so valuable. Like for me, it's impossible not to root for them. Like we have so much connection at these events with slope riders. I feel like when racing, I don't know, tell me after, but it seems like it's way more competitive head to head. You're not trying to reveal the secrets, whereas we're working together in practice. It's like I'll do this trick if you do this trick, and you guys are both nervous together. Like, come on, bro, you got this shit. You do something, your homie does something, you're like, fuck yes, we're unlocking it. Come on, move on to the next. And it's like before the runs, sometimes we're like, I love you, bro. Get this shit. Like we're like so connected. We're such homies. Like. We listen to music, padding up before the event. Like we're just actually so cool with each other in the way that we get along, you know? And I feel like that makes things so much more enjoyable because we struggle with weather, we struggle with crash, struggle with pressure. But if like you have your homies there, like everything is more enjoyable and it almost feels like a team effort, you know? Like if everyone crashes their run, that's like a failed day. If everyone lands their runs complete bangers, like you guys are looking good out there. Like prime performance, you know? So it's hard. Like imagine you're really close homie. You're going before the run. Get the shit, bro. I love you. I'll see you at the bottom. Like you're not going to go root for your homie to crash after you guys have this interaction.
Yeah.
It's the scream. Hopefully they get down there. You're up at the top. You're pumped as hell. Then you go down and that dude is waiting there for you and you guys celebrate together. That's like the most incredible feeling. You know, it's like you're pushing together. And then I feel like it's also in the judges' hands. You know what I mean? Like it was funny this year because Eric Fedko went first in Australia. He was the first rider, and they always screw over the first rider. So he did this banger run. He gets scored like decent. He gets like an 85 or whatever. He's like, all right, that's good. And then like I was a couple riders later than him, and I did a run, and he thought his run was better, you know. But I went later in the order, and I did my run, and so they scored me above. Like I go like just one spot above him. And then I come back to the rider lounge. Eric is chilling there. And he turns to me. And, like, it's all jokes, but he's like, yo, fuck you, bro. You know, it's like, but it's like, it's not like pissed at me. Like, I do my run. I'm not the one, like, deciding the score. It's like, so also that comedic aspect of, like, you're not going to be pissed at your homie because you did something and then the judges gave a better score. It's like, oh, I was sick or, like, fuck you, bro. You know, so it's like, it's that funny dynamic. You know, we're competitive and we like to battle against each other. But we don't wish bad upon each other. And if you win or get one better result because your homie is getting taken away in an ambulance, like, that's twisted, bro, you know? So it's, we're all just rooting for each other's well-being. And yeah, I feel like the sport would be a little bit more entertaining if we hated each other, but that's just like,
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? If we were like, fuck this guy gets good scores and I hate his riding, like,
yeah.
Even like I feel like the Supercross guys, because they like collide on track, they have those natural conflicts. But it's harder for us to have those natural conflicts because we have to be connected for us to stay mentally strong during these events. So yeah, a couple more heated rivalries, even if they're fake, might be kind of fun. But I mean, I love the dynamic that we have now, and it's every contest is so many good memories and so much enjoyment, no matter how it goes.
Who, you know, talking about your homies and obviously over the years, I'm sure there's been a lot of guys that when you came into the sport that you were looking up to and that you then competed against and beat. Like, I mean, for me, when I look at slopestyle, you know, if you talk about guys like Emil, Brandon, David Godsick, yourself, like, so obviously other than yourself, like, who would you say is over your career has kind of impressed you the most? Who would you say is like, other than you, you know, who would you say is kind of, the most standout?
We talk about this guy way too much, but it's just...
So you think
far above. Like, Like I came into the sport and Brandon was winning every event and taking over. Not taking over, he was already the king. Like he was winning every event. Like, and then Reader came along and really was giving Brandon a run for his money. Like really battling with him at every event. Came out on top a couple times, I think, not too many. Remember Bear Claws? I know that Reader won and Brandon was second. I know Lay does out also, but Brandon was really far above. And then Brett came in, and then when Brandon stepped aside more, then Brett had like a really gnarly era where he was really hard to beat. But I found ways to do it somehow. It was every time that I won an event against Brett, he was the better rider than me on that course. But whether it was hype or fan energy or execution in the final part of the run, I was able to win some of those events. But like the technicality he displayed and the riding skills that he had, he was always above me, in my opinion. I was more mentally strong than him, I think, because he was like I was saying before, he was putting so much pressure on himself to win the event. I feel like that sometimes hurt him because he was so determined. He's like, I need to win, and that's hard. But then Emil, it's not just like he wins the event. It's like the first day of practice, you see that this guy is so far above everybody else. So far, like as if he should be in some competition class of his own. Having fun on the course, 10 different options on each jump in both directions, and just like and it's still even saving stuff for the run. Like there's some riders that do the whole run top to bottom in practice. And Emil will do some banging top to bottom runs, but then when the actual contest run comes, it's just ridiculous. And it's like such risky moves that are executed perfectly. Like even Whistler this year, like people talk about the foot slip, but you starting the run with a half cab whip and ending it with a flat drop switch double whip. When a regular switch double whip flat drop has won competitions for me and for David Godzik, like that's so like so far above that it's almost frustrating. And it's almost like you were saying, it's hard for the people to understand because they're like, what, that was an opposite 360 inward table to double downside whip? Like the technicality is so absurd that it's difficult to understand. So he has been one of the ones that have impressed me the most. Mental-wise, though, this is an interesting one. Mentality-wise, one of the ones that impressed me most is Cam Zink. Cam Zink, in my opinion, does not have the same level of talent that guys like Emil and Reader do. But Zink has the most crazy determination and willpower and motivation that I've ever seen. Like the fact that he was going for a win at Rampage this year and almost was at the level to do it. Like if you look at 10 years ago, his wife has a pregnant belly and he's flipping the icon center. And now the kids are like grown up and he's still going for the win. Like,
yeah,
so many injuries and so many crashes and not the same skill level. Like his mental determination through the slope contest that I did with him towards the end of his slope career, through these rampages, through the times that he rode proving grounds. And he's like, I don't care. I'm going to do this on this drop, whether you guys think it's possible or not. It's insane mental strength. So, yeah, those are guys that have really impressed me over the years. I'm trying to think of if there's any other figures that have really impressed me in a way. I honestly have to shout out Thomas Jenon because he has like such a long career. He won Joyride in 2010, and we're talking
that's crazy.
2025, 15 years later, he gets his first Rampage podium. And we're talking about a long career.
Yeah.
15 years, like that is insane. And it was funny because Thomas Jenon and my father, Vlad, like they got along a lot in the early years of the competition. They have like a funny relationship with them, have funny accents. And Tommy G was like in a dull moment this year at Rampage. And he was like, Nicholai, like it was a kind of like joking moment, but he was like, Nicholai, I need you to give me a Vlad pep talk. Right? Give me a Vlad pep talk. And I was like, dude, are you serious? Like if you want a real Vlad pep talk, like I gotta give it to you. And he's like, yes, bro, I need it. I don't know if he was just like in a dull moment, he needed some motivation, or like why he requested this, or if he would just want to joke around. He's such a jokester type of guy. But then because he's been like 5th and 6th at Rampage so many times, so I went at it with him full Russian accent style. Like, do you just want to get the 5th place again, or you want to do something? Like I was just like absolutely yelling at him, like as if I was my father, like coaching him. And I don't know if it was the pep talk, but that second run where he spins the drop and comes to the bottom, and man, I almost think that he should have won that event. That top drop spin is insane. So
Yeah.
it's just a rider that has impressed me with his physical and his mental. Like he's come back from a few injuries himself. Slopestyle, Rampage, always stylish. Like, yeah. There's 3 really different characters that I've just presented to you. Emil versus Kem Zank versus Tommy G. Some different characters right there.
Yeah, definitely some absolute legends. Like, and you mentioned like with Emil that sometimes it was like it could be frustrating because he's just on that level. What was like through your career, and then it doesn't necessarily have to be a rider, but like was there a moment or a point or multiple where it was really hard, where you, I don't know, like mentally to kind of keep going, whether that be from an injury or just like, I don't know, feeling like not where you should be. Did you ever have that moment, or you always kind of just like head forward, head down? And
I was always really like not feeling bad for myself because that's just the way that I kind of always pushed forward, like no excuses type of mentality. So I feel like I was always pushing forward, but I was lucky when it comes to injury. I was crashing hard and I was padded up for sure, but it doesn't matter how many pads you wear. If you smoke the ground in the wrong way, like injuries happen, bone breaks happen, tears happen. So luckily I didn't struggle with injuries, but then when I had my arm snap in cans, that one really set me for a loop for a little bit because I had done my first run and I completed it. And then I was like, you know what? Like, what do I have to lose? Like, I'm going to go for a win. And then so I drop in, I try to twist her over this, like first feature, like over the whole thing. I come up short. I go over, I break my arm. My arm's pointed the wrong way. I've never had anything like that. It was always like a nightmare of like seeing one of your limbs the wrong way. Look up and my hand is pointed the wrong way. Luckily, the bone wasn't coming out of the skin. They said almost. So it could have been worse for sure. But then, like, that was super painful. I was super, like, drugged up straight away. They gave me the green whistle. I remember riding in the hospital. They gave me some crazy drugs. I felt like I was on top of the ambulance, outside of the ambulance. Crazy, bro. And, like, luckily, I hadn't had too many, like, any experiences like that at all, like ambulance and shit, because, like, I was pretty lucky with all my injuries. And so then in those like next days and weeks after, I had never experienced the injury and like how it takes a bit of time. So I was just sitting there with this broken arm. It was hurting like hell. And then I was like, what the fuck, dude? I just tried to win this contest and now I'm never going to be able to try to win a contest again just because like I was so inexperienced. I was like having these moments that made me feel like I could never ever get back to my level of mental strength and physical strength. But that was just like a inexperienced moment, you know? And in those moments, I had to think about like riders coming back from injuries. Like, you know, you said you have hip injuries. Like, I remember thinking of like Tom Van Steenbergen, double hip explosion.
Yeah.
He came back from that somehow. So I'm like, man, I'm sitting here crying about this fucking broken wrist when these dudes be having way crazier injuries. Like, you know? So luckily, like, it was just like in a weird moment because of my inexperience. But I feel like that was the hardest one for me. So like, that's not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, but like first of all, that's insane that you've only had that through your career because I've seen, with all the crashes, we talked about the Rampage crash and all, you've crashed so many times in slopestyle. But yeah, as what we talked about earlier, that it's somehow, you guys somehow know something better than we do. Or maybe it's because there aren't like trees and rocks or something, but that's pretty impressive. But yeah, it's wild. It is something when you have that first injury. I remember myself when I first had an injury, it was like, holy shit, like, you know, because you don't know how everything goes, and then you got to get surgery or something, and then you're like, oh, like, what's going to happen now? Like, am I going to be okay, kind of thing? And then, yeah, and not that it's a good thing, but when you've had it a few times, then you kind of like, maybe mentally, it's like, okay, well, I know how this goes, kind of thing. But how long were you out that time with your arm?
Not so long. It ended my season. I think it was the injury happened in May, and then I was riding again lightly in September.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not. But I'm sure you would have felt that
5 months, but that's because I didn't get surgery, so the ligaments needed a lot of PT.
Mm-hmm. But I'm sure that that would have. When you jump back on the bike, it does always takes a little time to kind of get that last bit of confidence back.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets from your career?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's hard. It's a yes and it's a no because I've enjoyed this career so much, but I've been a bit reckless, like with the enjoyment. There's been nights where I was partying way too late the night before the event. There was times that I was losing the discipline and focused on the wrong things. So it's like, in a way, it makes me want to say, like, I wish I had been more disciplined and more on the right track and more willing to say no if people are going for beers, or say no if people are going to go do some activity that's going to maybe put me in a wrong way for the contest, whether that's the next day or a few days after. So I feel like I could have had more success and better results and all of that if I was more driven. But then when I look at the guys that didn't enjoy it as much, they're long gone. Like, they're on their own paths. They're not competing anymore. Whereas, like, I'm still looking forward to every slopestyle event and training like hard to push further and try to get more wins, or try to like make the fans go crazy more. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like my enjoyment of the sport has been one of the most important things for me, and the thing that's kept me going, but also the thing that stopped me a few times from being the top level that I can, reaching my ceiling, if you know what I mean. You get that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but I feel like, yeah, as you said, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because you've got the one side which it might have prolonged your career, or made you actually enjoy it more, but then it potentially cost you some wins and some moments that you could have reached. So it's like, what's at the end of the day, what's more important, kind of thing, to you?
The partying and stuff, if it's in the right moment, I don't think that affects you. But there was times where I was being way too reckless. Like, when you're puking out booze the morning of the conf, or you have to ride in the evening, that's reckless. That's unacceptable.
What?
If we had coaches in the sport, like, they would be like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, so like, partying and stuff and drinking and hanging with the guys, like, if it's in the right moment, I don't think it hurts. But some of the ones that I have done, what were you asking?
To tell me, there must be, what's the wildest, craziest story from a party that you have? Like, there's got to be some big ones there.
Wildest and craziest is hard to say. We had a pretty crazy one in Berlin this year after the Masters of Dirt Tour, where we partied until 2 p.m. the next day. That was the latest. That's the latest we went.
Holy.
One singular night of partying. But that was after a show tour, so that's fair. The specific one that I'm thinking of was in Whistler, 2022, if I'm not mistaken. It was the night before the event. We had a dinner at Sushi Village. At Sushi Village in Whistler, you drink so much sake no matter what. So I was like a little bit sakied up, and then I went to some bar in Whistler. And it was the night before the comp. So I was like, I'm going to let loose a little bit, but nothing crazy. The comp is like 4 or 5 p.m. the next day. So I'm like, yeah. And then, unfortunately, some people that knew me or some fans found me there, and they started giving me shots. And I think it was like Jaeger bombs and shit, bro. And so we're talking the night before Joyride. Jaeger bombing, doing shots with fans like probably Longhorn, whatever the classic spots in Whistler are. Yeah. And I just remember waking up the next day, going to the bathroom. There's puke on the walls around the bathroom. I'm puking more. I show up to the riders meeting. The boys are like, "Bro, you smell like booze." And I'm like, why am I even at this riders meeting? I look like such an idiot. And then, like, luckily by the contest day, by the time the contest happened, like, I was feeling ready to go, but I crashed both of my runs, bro. I fucked up the runs so bad. So, like, I feel like that was a reckless one because I just let my enjoyment get the most of me. I was like, yo, I'm not going to lay in my bed and stress and just lay there with my eyes open, standing at the wall, thinking about everything that could go wrong in my run tomorrow. I'm going to, like, go out and hang with people. But then, just because you want to hang with people and not stress doesn't mean you have to get completely blackout drunk, So just like irresponsible behavior on my part. And that was probably the worst one. But over the years in general, partying, 26 Tricks used to have crazy parties. Masters of Dirt, always crazy parties. A lot of amazing partying stories over the years. But the ones before the competition day are the ones that should have been left out, for sure.
Oh, dude. That's classic. But I mean, yeah, maybe that's like why that's also part of why you're you know, and like why you got to this point. So it's yeah, I guess no one will ever know what it would have been like if you didn't have those nights out. So you know. What I mean, you're 29 now, which is still young, but I guess in a sport like slopestyle it's not that young. But has there been any thought as to what you'd want to do after competing? Or is that still like kind of too far off?
Well, I feel like I have some good years left in me. I feel the durability fading a little bit, which is unfortunate. Like there are some crashes that I took that you feel it more, and you're like, "This was 5 years ago. I wouldn't feel this at all." But now,
Yeah,
so many more ice baths and shit now. Ice bathing like every day, like just way more stretching and everything. So I feel the durability fading. But I still think I got a solid like 5 years left in me. I just keep in mind guys like Ryan Nyquist, who was Joyride podium at age 37.
yeah, that was wild.
Ito Aguado, who's like 38 and riding better than I've ever seen him ride. Unreal. So you like kind of use those older characters that are still progressing and still being the best they can be as inspiration. So I still think I have good years left in me, but I am really enjoying doing the hosting stuff and the commentary and everything.
Yeah.
Especially events like Rampage and things like that, where I know the competitors are my homies. I can get some really deep insights with them because I can go and have lunch with them and talk with them and their team, or like be up on course with them and give those insights. And I feel like sometimes the events are missing those insights, you know, because like these characters, every single character in the sport is super unique. Like, you know it. You have so many guests, like everyone is like such a unique character, which sometimes doesn't get to be put on display.
Yeah.
So I'm really motivated on doing hosting and projects like that reveal more riders' character and really like show the public that these are some epic humans. Because I feel like other sports like F1 and whatever other ones that have so much TV coverage and so much press coverage and press conference, like people really know these athletes' personalities. Whereas in mountain biking, sometimes it's just a guy doing guy or girl.
Yeah.
Crazy shit in the helmet, and you don't know who they are or if they're cool. But if you did, you would be like way more intrigued and impressed watching. So, yeah, I'd love to get into hosting more events, all kinds of events. I'd like to announce some races with like Rob Warner and stuff because he's such a.
That was sick.
I gotta learn some more. You know, like I went to a few different World Cups over the years, and obviously watching and following and things like that. But I feel like that analysis and stuff, I still got to learn a little bit more before hopping in the booth for one of those. But that would be super motivating. And it seems like people are decently stoked on the hype that I bring, but I can't help it. I know
it's a skill. It's definitely a skill, and not everyone can do it. You know, even if someone knows what they're talking about, like it's just like this vibe. You know, like some people, like Rob, for example, I can't really put my finger on why he's so good. Like, I mean, obviously he knows a lot and he knows all the riders and he does a lot and he puts a lot into it. But there are other guys that also put a lot into it and they just not him, you know? So it's like, it's kind of like that X Factor kind of thing. And some people are just, you know, really cut out for it. And for me, like I watch a lot of motocross and supercross as well. And like I watch all the American stuff, and I generally don't watch the GPs because of the commentary. Like I just find the commentary, and yeah, no offense to them, I just found the commentary like boring. And that's like part of the enjoyment of, because you're watching a moto for 30 minutes. Like you need some kind of insights, entertainment. I feel like what could be cool for mountain biking, whether it's slopestyle, downhill, anything, is there something like Drive to Survive, like they've had for Formula One. Like that would be so sick to like have. For me personally, I actually like watching that type of thing more than the actual event. Like, because you really get to know the riders, like what's going through their heads, like what are they thinking, what happened the week before, like, you know, because that then on contest day, you can actually fully understand, oh, okay, he's not going to do that well today because he's got an injury or whatever. Like he lost his main sponsor last week, or he's got a new bike, or whatever it is. But I feel like that'll make things way more interesting for people.
I agree. I would love it. I think we actually presented the idea, not presented, but had like meetings about that idea a few years ago. And I guess Crankworx was just saying it's super expensive to produce, and letting me get big company on board, they can't do a proper production. They said like hundreds of thousands of dollars for production, which makes sense. You need a big media team. You need a lot of footage. You need a lot of editing. You need a lot of cool things. But I think it would bring the value of everything up. So
I think it's going to happen. I think it's just a matter of time. But I think at some point or another, because the sport is like, even if you're not a mountain biker, like you can't watch and be like, oh, this is boring. Like it's so entertaining. Like, so I think it's just, the sport's pretty young, obviously. So we just, but yeah, at the same time, that's going to bring potentially other things into the sport, which maybe it's not as free as it is now, kind of thing. So I guess there's always pros and cons, right? Dude, to end off the podcast, I always ask every guest the same question, and that is, what is the meaning of success to you?
Wow. Like to me, or what I think like for everyone, like in general?
No, like to you personally, like, I mean, it could be anything, like, but what is to you, like, where you kind of look back and you be like, man, I feel like I'm successful with whatever that may be, whether it's money or giving back or whatever it may be,
I think it's all about living the life you want to live. And the one issue is like actually figuring out the life you want to live, because sometimes you think that it's all about the money and then you realize that it's not that meaningful, or just different things like that. So if you can figure out the life that you want to live and the one that you experience the most like joy from, and you're able to successfully do that, then I think it's successful. Because if you're putting a amount of money to it, I don't think it's possible. If you're putting value of this or that, or a result, being a champion of this or that, I feel like if you're living the life you want to live, like in my situation, I'm riding the events that I want to ride and go to the places that I want to go, hang out with the homies that I want to hang with, give back in the way that I can. Like, I'm definitely blessed to be living the life I want to live. So I feel like the success in that sense. So yeah, I mean, the worst thing you can do is like wake up in the morning and be like, shit, I don't want to do this at all. And some people do that because they think that there is something more important, and then realize that it's not worth it. So when you're living every day like, this is what I want to do and I'm doing it, then I feel like that's success. What do you think?
100% agree. Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think you need to enjoy life. Like, we're all going to end up in the same place. We're all going to die at some point, and no amount of money or fame or whatever it is, you can't take that with you. So, you need to enjoy every day. And I get that you need a certain amount of money, you need a certain amount of things to have a nice life. But there's also a point where I think people, they stuck in a job that they hate for years and years and years to make a certain amount of money so that they can have free time to go and do the things they really want to do. But, I think being able to do what you really love every day, or at least often, is, you can't really do much more than that. Dude, thanks so much. This is it's been awesome to get to know you and kind of hear a bit about your story, and have some good banter.
For sure, man. It's been fun.
One thing that I don't know if you know, so I've got a YouTube series. It's called Swapping Lines, which I started about a year ago now, just over a year ago, and every episode's with a new rider. And I've done 7 episodes now. I did one with Aaron Gwynn, Greg Minar, Finn Isles. I did in Whistler last year, and I've never done one with a slopestyle guy, but it could be cool. I don't know. I have no idea, like, if you'd be interested or not, but like from sometime next year, it could be quite cool to do something. I don't know. We'd have to like figure out a way to.
Tell me more about the idea of the show.
So there's 3 parts. So one is the podcast, which we've already done, and then there'll be a behind the scenes video, kind of vlog style, and then the main edit, which is like an action edit. So they've all been downhill races until now, but I've been kind of toying with the idea of doing something outside of the downhill scene, like doing some enduro or slopestyle or just a different discipline, And obviously I wouldn't be riding slopestyle, but we'd have to find a way. I mean, you've got a big bike as well. So we would have to figure out a way to kind of fit that together, but then would be like an action edit, but then you could obviously throw in some tricks at the same time. So something like that. But I can send you. I'll figure the playlist.
Could we maybe do it? Oh no, you're in Munich now. You said you're from South Africa. I was thinking, you don't think we could find somewhere on that farm, whether it's at the dirt jumps or something, to like back and forth? Because there's some downhill lines there. There's full dirt jumps there. There's obviously the Dark Fest jumps.
Well, there's a lot to film there. I'm just thinking, because when is that? Is it in Feb or is it later now? It's later now, yeah. Because I'm going to be there. I'm actually leaving on Friday, but I'm only going to be there till the end of Jan this year. Let me give it some thought. And I'll send you a link as well, so you can have a look and just kind of get a vibe. But it's kind of been like an action riding edit. But I think like having a mix of some slopestyle stuff in there could be quite cool. It won't be on a slopestyle course, but like, you know, kind of incorporating that into the riding. And
I'd be down to try and plan it out. It'll be sick.
Sweet. I'll send you some links, and then we just need to figure out when and where. Obviously you have quite a busy schedule. I know you will be in Europe at some point for Nines, I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's this FMB new slopestyle. We actually didn't talk about that at all. The slopestyle is like changing their formats now to like the Super League, whereas we have 5 regular season events. It's kind of like a American sports style. We have 5 regular season events, which is Crankworx Rotorua, Crankworx Christchurch, and then 2 unannounced European events.
Okay.
I speculate one is potentially a Red Bull Roof Ride, which I would hope for because that event is electric. And then one other one, at least. So there's at least 2 events that I have to be there for sure.
Okay.
There's Masters of Dirt Tour happening next year. I'm not sure how involved I'm going to be with that because that was really taxing on the body last year, even though we had some of the sickest moments of all time. So still like planning that schedule for next year. So let's keep in touch about it.
Okay, and you in California, right?
Yeah, right now I'm in.
Because I might be coming over to Worcester as well next year. So that's another option. Like, I don't know, you know, when and if you're only going to be there for like Crankworx or if you'll be there at another time as well. So yeah, I'm sure there's
if possible, I always try to get more time than just the Crankworx in Whistler.
Okay.
So hopefully they can do that again, depending on.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah. Then let's keep in touch and see if and when we can make it happen.
For sure.
Because that'll be sick. Yeah, man. Thanks so much.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. And to see more episodes, just hit the link right up here.
That was iconic.